Hi all, welcome to my small corner of the internet. I have an endless TBR, so that's where we find ourselves today. And I'd like to tell you what I was able to finish this week. We'll go Monday through present, which is Sunday, so about a week. I don't think I'm going to finish anything else. And let's dive in. So first off, I finished Devolution by Max Brooks. This is I'll read it. A first-hand account of the Rainier Sasquatch Massacre. I read this as an audiobook from my library through Libby, and this is performed primarily by Judy Greer, but is toted as a full cast narration. So we have voices from Max Brooks, the author himself, Jeff Daniels, Nathan Fillion, Terry Gross, Kate Mulgrew, and a number of other narrators. It was a fun reading experience, listening experience. And I'm sure if you like Max Brooks, the author of World War Z, if you like his storytelling, it's probably really, really great. It got, I think, a 3.5 stars from me. After that, I read Lodestar, number 5 in Shannon Messenger's The Keeper of the Lost Cities series. As this is number 5, I can't tell you a whole lot about it, but the first one, this is a middle grade series in which 11-year-old Sophie realizes that she's not a normal human with abnormal abilities. She's an elf. And what comes from that. Next on the list was Lovely War by Julie Berry. This is a story of war, narrated by a small subset of the Greek pantheon. So this story is actually narrated primarily by Aphrodite, hence the lovely part of war. We also see Ares, Apollo, Hades, with small parts interspersed. Focus is on the stories of Hazel and James, Colette and Aubrey, and how these characters are intertwined and their stories progress through the events of World War I. It is sort of retrospective in that these gods are meeting and discussing the events of the story during World War II. It was just a really neat perspective and a beautifully told story. Next book that I finished was Felix Ever After by Callender. This was another audiobook, which is performed by Logan Rozos. This is my first read from Callender. It will not be my last. I have another book of theirs checked out from the library currently, so I will get to that when it comes up in the pile. This is about a trans boy as he is in kind of a summer arts program. And at the onset of the story, a classmate of Felix outs him to the rest of the class by building a gallery and labeling the images of Felix pre-transition with his dead name. So it's very twisty. There's a lot of teen angst. And overall, it was very relatable. You don't always love Felix and his decisions. But he's going through a lot, and he's a teenager. Not everybody makes the best decisions when they're a teenager. And you can see that in this book. This book was written with a lot of heart. I would certainly recommend. There are trigger warnings for transphobia. Felix's dad has a really hard time accepting Felix for who he is. But there is some resolution towards the end. And I think that there is a rainbow here at the end of the story. So good things are coming for Felix. Next up are 2 ebooks. So I don't have them here to physically show you. I hopefully will be able to get a picture in here. The first is The Echo Wife by Sarah Gailey. This is not yet released. This is coming out through Tor on February 16th. It is a speculative story about a woman named Evelyn. She's a very respected scientist. And we open the story with her receiving a call from her ex-husband's new fiance. They meet because this fiance, Martine, wants to discuss her future with her own fiance and her new pregnancy. That very same day, Evelyn receives another call from Martine and says, I need your help burying the body of my fiance and your ex-husband. And you know what? That's not the weirdest thing about this book. So, it's coming out from Tor. It's Sarah Gailey, so there's a little bit of like weird magic stuff going on, but it's very science-based and it's really, really cool. Didn't take me that long to read. You sort of fly through it because you have to know what's going to happen. And again, this comes out February 16th. I received The Echo Wife through Tor and NetGalley. Next up, because I was really itching to hit 200 books read for the year of 2020, I picked up a very short novella from the library. This was A Dead Djinn in Cairo by P. Djeli Clark. And this is about a dead djinn in Cairo. It kicks off a series of, I think we're at three stories now, about a private investigator named Fatma who identifies as female, but moves through Cairo in her practice wearing typically men's clothing because it's much easier to do a lot of things in men's clothing in the kind of turn of the century Egypt. So we meet Djinn and Ifrits and angels, and there's all sorts of mysterious things going on. Definitely can't wait to see the next adventure that Fatma is able to come in contact with. Physically, I started a new series that was Story Thieves by James Riley. This is adorable. This is about Owen finding out that his classmate Bethany can jump into the events of books and the events that follow in his excitement to find out what happens in the last installment of his favorite epic fantasy adventure series. And things don't necessarily go to plan. There's a love of literature in here, a love of storytelling, and a lot of fun in this middle grade novel. So I will likely pick up the next one in the series and you will hear about it then. So the next one I received as a review copy through NetGalley, but I also have a physical copy that I found in a bookstore. This is A House at the Bottom of a Lake by Josh Malerman. It's super weird. It's about two 17-year-olds who on their first date are out canoeing and they wind up in a connected lake that nobody else seems to know about. And as they move through the lake trying to find their picnic spot, they recognize a house at the bottom of the lake. They, keep checking it out. Somebody goes down to the bottom and there are, flagstones leading up to the front walk. And the door is open. So they go and explore, weird things happen, and it's a weird little book. It gives you there's a lot of feelings. It's a very raw interpretation of falling in love and taking that leap towards adventure. And I would definitely recommend if you have liked Josh Malerman in the past, and even if you haven't, go ahead and give it a try. This was officially my 200th read of 2020. I don't think I will ever see numbers like this again. I did a lot of reading in March and April for obvious reasons that I don't think I'll be able to manage again. But it was fun while it lasted. Next up is Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse. This was the first book that I finished in 2021. I'm trying to get rid of this glare because the cover of this book is absolutely stunning. This is a pre-Columbian Central America adventure focusing on a number of different characters. We see a city run by the Sun Priest. We see a teak sea captain. So there's a little bit of piracy. There's a little bit of like siren feeling creatures that the teak are, and they are both revered and reviled for their abilities in controlling or communicating with the sea. And we also see members of a crow god worshipping cult. That's all you're going to get from me. This was 5 stars. It draws you in immediately and won't let you go. And even at the end, the ending that she gives this means I am holding my breath for the sequel. Definitely keep an eye on this, and I will read it as soon as it's available, as soon as the sequel is available to me. Next up is another tour release. This comes out on January 12th, which will be next Tuesday. This is, of course, the 6th installment in the Wayward Children series by Shannon McGuire, Across the Green Grass Fields. This is another NetGalley title that I requested and was approved to read. It focuses on our character Reagan, who one day, as we know, finds a door and believes that she is sure when she steps through to the Hooflands, in which we meet a number of equine characters. It's a question of what it means to be a person and whose ideas are more important than others. I read Allegedly by Tiffany D. Jackson. This was an audiobook performed by Bahni Turpin. Phenomenal. I have been sleeping on this book. I've been sleeping on this author. I will no longer. Monday's Not Coming is going to be, next soon up in my list of reading. Grown will be shortly after, and I will be seeking out anything that Tiffany D. Jackson publishes. This blew me away. If Bahni Turpin does the audiobook, all the better. Definitely, this was a 4.5, rounded up on Goodreads. I loved this novel. Twisty, turny, dark, not what you would expect. So give it a shot if you haven't. And finally this week was a teeny tiny little novella that I sat down and read this afternoon. That was The Test by Sylvain Neuvel. This is about an Iranian man sitting for the British citizenship test, and not all goes to plan. This is one that will make you think afterwards. It was astounding for 100 pages. And the number of Goodreads reviews that say this packed a punch, which you might notice in a particular reading blog that you might see, it packed a punch. That's the way to put it. And if you can get your hands on this, again, it's about 100 pages. Give it a shot. So that's all I have for this week. Hopefully I will figure out a schedule of how to do this. I might be throwing in media that I have consumed outside of reading, as I have seen other booktubers do. We don't watch a lot of TV here in the house. We're on the final season of Schitt's Creek, and it's phenomenal if you haven't watched it yet. And I will see you next week. Bye.